Okay, hello, this is Danielle, and we are back with another video about agent searching. In the last few videos, we've talked about what makes an agent what do they do, and pros and cons about getting agent representation. So you are here today in this video to learn about what makes a good agent. And this is, of course, a very subjective question, but the short answer, it depends on you and your preferences. So let's look at a few general criteria that will help you search for good as far as you're concerned, because that's really all that matters. So number one, you want to look at the agent's sales records, meaning what books have they gotten sold to publishers? And typically that just means what books have they gotten published? So you want to evaluate the agent's client list and the publishers they've recently sold to. Are they, when you're looking at this, are they books or publishers that you consider a good fit for your work or competition or kind of in the same area? Do they have a lot of clients in maybe the area that you are working in, meaning memoir or first-time authors, or are they representing people like who do I always pick on? Michelle Obama or Oprah. You can definitely pitch to Oprah's agent if you want, but only if they are a good fit for you. So look at their experience, look at the success track record that they have in representing the types of books that your book fits into, the categories that your book fits into. Now, the next thing you want to look at that kind of segues off of this one is, are they new or experienced? So we just talked about looking at their sales records. If you're looking at a new agent, they won't have any sales records, right? They're new. So you have to decide whether or not that's an automatic strike off the list, or if that's something that you think actually could work to their advantage or your advantage. So you look at this in a couple different ways. Number one, a new agent may still be building up their book of clients and their rosters. So it may be easier to get represented by them, but on the other hand, they don't have that experience. So you have a little trade-off there. And then again, on the other hand, I don't know how many hands we have here, but there's a few different facets to look at this from. A new agent is going to be hungry. They are going to want to make a name for themselves. Remember, agents only get paid when they sell your book. They don't get paid for just hanging out and being someone fun you can call, being someone you can call to talk about your book with. They don't get paid for that. They get paid when they sell your book. So a new agent is going to be maybe more of a go-getter, more motivated in that type of way to make a sale, to get that selling record started for themselves. Because right now, if they're new, all they have is a list of clients and books to sell. So they're going to be a hustler. That's typically the experience that you will find with a newer agent who's out to make a name for themselves. Now, you can look at the newer agent's track record by seeing where they came from. Were they maybe an editor in a publishing house, an in-house editor? Or do they have some other type of experience with a different agency and some other type of role? Or perhaps the new agent is working within a very well-known agency that has itself as a whole a pretty great track record. So you can kind of look to see their history, where they've come from, the agency that the new agent is working within. Because think about a new agent who has an excellent mentor. They're only going to be taught the best from the best. So even though they're new, doesn't mean that they're bad, quote unquote bad, or going to make mistakes that could have been avoided. We're all new at some point, right? So maybe this doesn't bother you. I would love a hungry agent. I don't know if I'd want an agent who is like, yeah, get in line. You're number 487. A more experienced agent is going to be able to sell maybe a harder sell, if you will. If your book is maybe a little bit more niche, or you've gotten some feedback that it's good, but it's going to be tough to find the right fit, a more experienced agent that's willing to pick you up could potentially be a good fit in that way. They might have some deeper connections within the industry than a new agent does, so they may have a better idea of where a good fit for you is as far as a publisher goes. So there are pros and cons to both sides of this. You just need to understand what you prefer, and where your comfort level is, and where you want to see your book go in the world. So another thing you want to look at with an agent is how they communicate. Maybe not in the formal or informal type of way. I'm a pretty informal communicator. You feel like you're getting a real person, hopefully. And I tend to not be very stiff and standoffish. I try to make connections. But at the end of the day, I try to always be professionally. So you have to decide, do you like someone who is open to communicating, who is maybe more formal in their communications, old school, maybe they like to communicate by letter. But then you also have to look at their timeliness. Do you really prefer to have an agent get back to you immediately? Or are you okay waiting? You just need to kind of they just need to get back to you at some point. How likely are you to be frustrated by waiting for a response? Try to put yourself into the agent's shoes for a minute. A good agent is not going to leave you in the dark. They're not going to just totally ghost you and not tell you about things happening within the realm of what's going on with your book, right? They're going to be communicating with you, but remember, they're working for free until they get your book sold. So they're really working hard, but you're not their only client, most likely, unless you get a very brand new one. Most likely you're just one of their clients that they need to also be communicating with. So make sure you're realistic. Try not to be demanding in your communication or your expectations with them. You don't want to tell them, hey, I need to hear from you this afternoon, if it's not really truly an emergency. But on the other hand, definitely feel free to have an expectation of some type of timely communication within a couple business days, within a week. What do you think is reasonable? And have those conversations with an agent that you are courting, if you will. Then check out their level of enthusiasm when they reach out to you, when they start talking to you about your book. Do you believe that they're genuine when they say your book is good, or your book definitely is something they'd be interested in picking up? Are you feeling like they're just sending you some standard form language just to get another person on their roster? You want to make sure that you feel valued and safe in that relationship, that you can establish a level of trust and respect with that agent. Are they going to be your cheerleader? Remember what an agent does. They are the middleman between you and the publisher, but they are working for you, for your goals, for your benefit. They get paid when you succeed at what you want to do. So they're not necessarily working for the publisher in the middleman sense, but of course they're going to look good to a publisher when they bring a publisher a good project. So they only win when everyone else wins. They don't win when other people lose. So if you have some instincts that are telling you that this agent is acting out of alignment with helping you get the deal that your book should be getting within expectations, right? Follow those instincts. This is a business partnership. You want to make sure you put things out on the table and that you can trust this person that you're going into business with. So you also want to look for an agent who is willing to help you improve your query and your pitch and your proposal and all of that. Help you improve your material. Now, this isn't, again, you're not hiring an editor, but a good agent should be looking at these things critically. They should be looking at the details, looking at the tone, looking at things that they could help you tweak and improve so that you make a better first impression when going out to do some pitching. This is because they understand the market. They understand what agent or what publishers are looking for. They understand what books are out there. They understand what they've been able to sell. If they know they've been able to sell something similar or something that maybe can be, your book can maybe be twisted a little bit, twisted's a bad word, but shifted in a different light, and say like, hey, if we emphasize this instead of that, this is going to be something that a publisher will pick up or whatever. So they understand the market, and a good agent will be willing to help you, give you some feedback, provide that, have you do some revisions before they put you out there. It's not just a blind read and go, okay, yeah, this looks good enough, let's just see what happens. They should be willing to put a little bit of sweat equity into this as well. And again, because they are an industry expert, they should also understand what a book contract should include or should not include, what a good book contract looks like. It's not just about getting an advance, or it's not just about finding the right publisher. You also need to make sure the contract is aligned with your goals and your wishes for your book. So an agent should understand how to make its way around a good contract and negotiate and all of that. That being said, an agent isn't always a lawyer or doesn't always have that legal background, but a contract within the book industry is something an agent should absolutely understand. So if you're feeling like this person isn't understanding what they're looking at, that's going to be a red flag. And then here is something that you want to understand that might be hard to wrap your head around before it happens, but an agent should be able to give you feedback with regard to the rejections that you're getting. So you're going to get rejections. Just number one, get that in your head. It's going to happen. It happens to everyone, and that's okay. But a good agent should be talking with you about the rejections that they're seeing, what they think that means. If they're getting a bunch of form letter rejections with standard boilerplate language, what does that actually say about your pitch, about your proposal, about whatever you've sent out that may need to be tweaked a little bit if it's not hitting the mark you think it's going to hit? Of course, they will try to encourage you and tell you like, this is, it's not a big deal, we're going to get rejections. But if there is something off that needs to be revised or shifted before you continue pitching, that agent should be the one to give you some of their expert feedback in that category. And just an asterisk, just because your book doesn't sell doesn't mean the agent is bad at their job. This is not an easy industry. They don't have an easy role. They may think that they have some good connections, but if that publisher is just not taking that type of book right now, right? The connection might be good, but timing might be bad. So there are so many different criteria and things at play that the agent doesn't have control over, just like you don't. So that's not a sign of a bad agent, but also you do need to have open discussions with regard to rejections so that you understand if for some reason you're just going in the wrong direction, or your expectations are too high, or the contacts that the agent is submitting to just happen to be rejecting it because it's, whatever, it's just coincidental. So that should give you an idea. Start thinking about these criteria and understanding, what do you feel like you might prefer? Is new okay? Do you really got to have experience? That type of thing. So we're going to go into the next video a little deeper into this and give you some specific criteria to look for when you start evaluating agents, and so that you can understand whether or not they actually go on your list or don't. But the criteria that we talked about today should generally apply to all good agents. Whether they're a good fit for you is what we'll talk about next. So please come back and we'll be continuing the discussion then.